Jacob Fatu destroys Braun. Braun meets his match. Fatu unleashes chaos. Jacob Fatu goes savage. Braun vs Fatu War. What happens when a man who calls himself a monster runs into somebody who genuinely doesn't seem afraid of monsters? And at what point does a wrestling match stop feeling like a match and start feeling like a crime scene with entrance music? Because that's honestly what this whole Jacob Fatu and Braun Strowman situation felt like on SmackDown. No joke, the second these two were in the same building together, the entire atmosphere changed. You could feel it. The crowd felt it. The commentators felt it. Even the security guards probably started updating their resumes backstage. Everybody knew something bad was about to happen, they just didn't know how bad. And listen. Braun Strowman has spent years building this reputation as WWE's walking natural disaster. This is a man who flips ambulances for cardio. This dude once treated an entire production truck like it owed him money. So normally, when Braun walks to the ring, people panic. But Jacob Fatu? Nah. That man walked out looking like he was late for a fight he'd been waiting his whole life to have. And that's what made this so fascinating. Because for maybe the first time in a long time, Braun Strowman looked across the ring and saw somebody who might actually be crazier than him. That's terrifying. And before we even get into the chaos, do me a quick favor and hit that like button if you enjoy these deep dive wrestling breakdowns, because this story right here? This deserves a full conversation. Also subscribe if you're new because SmackDown has quietly turned into absolute madness lately, and honestly, I don't trust myself to survive it alone. So the segment starts simple enough. Braun comes out first, and you can immediately tell he's in that I'm about to hurt somebody mood. No smiling. No playing to the crowd. Just stomping down to the ring like rent was due tonight. And the crowd reaction was loud too. Braun still has that larger-than-life aura. When he's locked in, he feels dangerous in a way that very few WWE superstars can replicate. It's not just size. Plenty of guys are big. Braun feels like a collapsing building with a beard. But then Jacob Fatu's music hits. And suddenly the energy changes completely. It's weird because Jacob doesn't even need to do much. He just walks out there and somehow feels unpredictable. Like you genuinely don't know what he's going to do next. That's rare in wrestling now. Fans usually see everything coming. We predict heel turns 6 months early. We fantasy book every surprise before it happens. But Jacob Fatu has this aura where you think, yeah, this dude might actually headbutt a car tonight. And honestly, I respect it. The crowd started getting louder and louder as he walked toward the ring, and Braun's face changed immediately. That's the detail I loved most. Braun didn't look scared exactly, but he definitely looked alert. Like when you realize the dog barking behind the fence has suddenly stopped barking. That kind of fear. And once the bell rang? Brother. Absolute violence. No feeling out process. No technical showcase. Nobody cared about wristlocks tonight. These two started throwing bombs immediately. Braun hit first with a massive shoulder tackle that nearly folded Jacob in half, and for 1 second the crowd thought, okay, maybe the monster still runs this place. Then Jacob got back up smiling. Smiling. Nah. That's horror movie behavior. And the crowd exploded because everybody realized Braun wasn't dealing with a normal opponent anymore. Jacob started firing back with these brutal strikes that looked like they genuinely hurt. Every punch had this nasty sound to it too. You know those wrestling punches where you can tell the front row heard it more clearly than commentary did? Yeah. Those punches. And Braun, to his credit, started fighting back harder. The ring literally shook during some of these collisions. At one point both men charged into each other and bounced backward like two trucks crashing head-on. Michael Cole sounded like he was witnessing a meteor strike. And can we talk about Jacob's speed for a second? Because that's what makes him terrifying. A guy built like that should not move that fast. It's unfair. Braun's entire career has been built around overwhelming people physically, but Jacob was matching the power while somehow moving quicker too. That's nightmare fuel. There was this moment where Braun tried to slow things down by throwing Jacob into the corner and unloading heavy strikes, and for a second it looked like Braun had regained control. The crowd started rallying behind him. You could hear people chanting his name. Then Jacob suddenly exploded out of the corner with this savage counterattack that completely shifted the momentum. And when I say savage, I mean savage. He hit Braun with a running attack so violent that Braun stumbled backward like somebody unplugged him from the wall. Then Jacob started unloading strike after strike after strike, and the audience completely lost their minds. You know it's serious when fans stop trying to record on their phones because they're too busy screaming. That's when the match stopped feeling competitive and started feeling personal. Jacob wasn't just trying to win anymore. He was trying to send a message. And honestly, he sent it. At ringside, things got even crazier. Braun attempted one of those monster comeback moments where he powers through the pain and starts wrecking everything around him. The crowd was ready for it too. You could feel people thinking, okay, here comes the train. But Jacob cut him off in the most disrespectful way possible. And wrestling fans love disrespect. He smashed Braun into the barricade so hard that the front row jumped backward like they were avoiding an actual car accident. Then Jacob stood over Braun looking completely unbothered. No panic. No exhaustion. Just intensity. That's the scary part about him. Most monsters in wrestling eventually show signs of slowing down. Jacob somehow gets meaner as the fight continues. Like his energy bar goes up when violence happens. That should not be legal. And somewhere in the middle of all this chaos, the commentators started bringing up the bloodline connections, and suddenly the entire match gained another layer. Because now fans weren't just watching two giants fight. They were imagining the bigger picture. What happens if Jacob fully takes over SmackDown? What happens if Roman Reigns eventually has to deal with this version of Jacob Fatu? What happens if the rest of the roster realizes there's a new monster in town who genuinely enjoys destruction? See, that's the difference. Braun Strowman destroys people because he's angry. Jacob Fatu destroys people because he seems to love it. That's much scarier. And if you're still watching right now, comment below, who do you think is the more dangerous monster overall? Braun Strowman or Jacob Fatu? Because honestly, I keep changing my answer every 5 minutes. The match kept escalating too. Braun managed to recover enough to hit a huge power slam attempt, and for one split second the crowd thought it was over. Then Jacob kicked out.